What's up YouTube, BigSweetC here with you. I am so happy to be back to editing. As you can see, I've got my computer up and running again, if in case you missed it over on the old Instagram. But my brother and I, we've got our man cave together, and it is time to get back to creating some content. So, for the first one I wanted to do, it's a special. We've been playing the Outer Worlds. If you guys haven't picked it up yet, I actually really enjoy this game quite a bit, and it's so good to finally be back to editing. I've gone ahead and I've done some stuff, so we're gonna edit it here in this little video so you can kind of pick up on where we left off for the next stream. We are just about done, I feel like. So we've gone ahead and we've collected the space juice, sauce, liquid, whatever that our man Phineas Wells needed to properly re-bring everybody back down from hibernation out of the Hope. And now we've gained the attraction of the board, and we have to appease both sides for the time being. Phineas actually encourages us to do so, to give him time to finish his plan of releasing everybody safely on the Hope. And so we've got that all set up to go. Now we need to skip our ship into one of the Hope's landing pods to hopefully we can push it into orbit and get it away from board control. On the other hand, the board finally figured out that we know where Phineas Wells is. They wanted us to sabotage his ship to give it a warning beacon as to where we can find him. We have done just that, and now both sides think that we are working for them. I tend to, spoiler alert, tend to think I'm going to work with Phineas Wells in this one. We'll work with the board in the next one, because I have decided I think we're just going to jump right into the next playthrough. We're playing it on hard difficulty, so when I beat this, I should get the beat it on any, beat it on hard achievements. But there's also the beat it on supernova. Plus, we have to go through as a standalone character without our buddies. And then we also, there's some other things that I have to go through before we can finish it up. As there's some other stuff that I missed throughout this playthrough, battles and whatnot that I missed that we'll do differently in the second playthrough in the supernova difficulty. The reason we're playing on supernova is because once your companions die in supernova, that's it, they're dead. So we'll probably strike it alone. That way I don't lose anybody. I'll probably pick them up just because I like having them on the ship. But for the most part, we're probably just gonna bust right through the main storyline and just pick up the achievements that I didn't pick up the first time through. So be on the lookout for that. We'll probably finish up the Outer Worlds and go right into character development of the second one. Maybe even, depending on how long we stream for, maybe we'll get through the first little part of it. And I'll explain kind of what the differences are as we go through. But we got some big stuff coming up to finish up the Outer Worlds, and then I can't wait to get into playing it again now that I kind of know the results of everything. Because I tell you what, man, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, they're the rare exclusive games that are actually better upon replaying. You don't find that very often. You do get in a couple of games that are better the second time through, such as the Dark Souls series, just because you kind of know what you're doing, you know what to look for. This is very much in that frame. You kind of figure out who the characters are on your first playthrough, who you like, who you don't like, how you want to go about developing your character, and redoing it the second time gives you that option to do everything differently. Now, you could have a bunch of saves, just do everything all at one time, but in my opinion, that's not really how the game is supposed to be played, and that's not really how you're going to get the full enjoyment out of everything. So, having said that, it has been nominated for Game of the Year, rightfully so, in my opinion, looking at the other five nominees. You've got The Outer Worlds as one, Control by Remedy Entertainment and 505 Games, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate by Nintendo, Death Stranding by Sony, Resident Evil 2 by Capcom, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice from Activision and From Software, and then again the Outer Worlds from Obsidian Entertainment. Those are your 6 nominees for Game of the Year, and this isn't why it's going to win. This is going to be how it could win, because I've seen a lot of negativity out there on the old Reddit boards about how the Outer Worlds should not be Game of the Year, and I'm gonna go over a couple of those. Mostly what I see is it's not really all that original. Now, 2 of these games I have not played, Control and Death Stranding. So we'll get to those guys in a second, but let's start with Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 is, I mean, without a doubt, got to be the least likely to win if you guys are worried about originality, because it is literally a remake. It is a very good remake. It looks great, plays great. There's a lot of fun to play again. But the truth is, it's not different at all than the original Resident Evil 2. And if it wasn't for the fact that they have to get the major platforms up there, I don't think Capcom would have gotten anything this year. Because Resident Evil 2, as much as I love it, I really enjoyed playing it. As a full-fledged remake, really, it's not even a remaster, it has no business being Game of the Year, in my opinion. And I'm assuming most of you guys agree, considering all the hate towards the Outer Worlds for not being original enough for Game of the Year. That brings me to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is like the 5th or 6th reincarnation of the Smash Brothers game. So again, it's it's not all that original in terms of how the game is played. It is super fun. It's actually probably my 2nd favorite Nintendo Switch game, right behind Breath of the Wild, which did win a couple of years ago. Breath of the Wild was, again, not a completely original game, but a very, very fun one, and that'll bring me to my point a little bit later on. But to continue on with Smash Brothers, again, one of my top 2-3 favorite Nintendo Switch games, but you guys know me when it comes to multiplayer games and how they cannot be Game of the Year because they are inherently flawed towards everybody. And what I mean by that is when you are dependent on a connection to a server with multiple people across not just the United States, but the world, and you don't know who they are, you don't know what kind of internet connection they're playing with, you might not have a great internet connection. So it's just inherently unfair to everybody who's playing at home as opposed to in a giant tournament where they all have everybody on the same internet in the same space. So right off the bat, because of that, it can't be Game of the Year for me because it's not inherently fair to everybody. Game of the Year has to be something that everybody can play on equal terms. Everybody can enjoy. Rightfully so, to the full extent, and you just can't do that with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You can't do that with Call of Duty Modern Warfare either. You can't do that with any of the Call of Duty games, any of the Smash Bros. Games. You can't do that with any of the games that depend on multiplayer PvP connections to the internet. It's just an unstable, unreliable, unknowing way to play a game, and because it makes it inherently unfair to those who might not have better internet, might have better internet, but have to dumb it down to play with everybody else. You don't get the full experience of the game, and if you don't get the full experience of the game, then it's not a Game of the Year, in my opinion. Next would be Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Kind of along the lines of the unoriginality. Sekiro is pretty fun. It's one of those games where I keep thinking I'm going to get back to, and I just haven't yet. We will eventually get back to it. It's a very, very tough game, and there's no help like there is in like the Dark Souls or the Bloodborne games. But in my opinion, it's Bloodborne without the multiplayer. And what I mean by that is, like, I mean, yeah, you have a gun in Bloodborne, but your gun is not really meant to be your primary weapon. It's still your right-handed weapon, whatever that happens to be. So your sword, your hammer, your whatever. Your gun is more of your parry defense. Sekiro, they kind of take that out. You block with your weapon, and then you attack with your weapon as well. But along the same lines, they are pretty much identical in game. Parrying instead of full-on blocking like in Dark Souls, and then and full-on relentless attack. Now you do get some cool like arm grips and stuff you can do to get yourself into different areas of the game, which is pretty cool. I don't necessarily think that makes it a better enough to award this guy Game of the Year, whereas Bloodborne was nominated for Game of the Year, but it did not win. That was in 2015. The winner was The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. Again, proving my point. So those are the 3 games that I have played outside of the Outer Worlds, and why I don't think they should win. Why the Outer Worlds I think has a slightly better chance, because they are all 3 of those guys are remakes. Or essentially extensions. I shouldn't say remakes because they're not. Resident Evil 2 is a remake, yes, but Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is not a remake, it's a sequel. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is technically its own thing, but it's made by the same people who brought to you Bloodborne in a way that's almost identical to Bloodborne. Which brings me to Control. Control I have yet to play. It's a third-person perspective, so it's slightly different than what I'm about to say. But basically, you have a service weapon that allows you to have supernatural abilities like telekinesis, levitation, the ability to control certain enemies. If you haven't figured out where I'm going with this yet, this is the third-person shooter version of Dishonored. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Dishonored, you use telekinesis, you use levitation, you use, you can teleport, basically, from place to place. So, I mean, right there and then, the entirety of its operation is exactly like Dishonored. And Dishonored didn't win Best Game of the Year. Wasn't even nominated when it came out because they didn't have it. But again, you're just bringing out a game that has very, very little difference than stuff we've already played and loved. Now it is a Metrovania format, so it's kind of like the platformer more than like an open world Bethesda game like Dishonored is. But I mean the playing style is exactly the same, exactly the same. I mean you don't even get to automatically recharge your life. You have to pick up energy, and that I mean it's. I don't even know how much more I have to say. It revolves around a clandestine U.S. government agency known as the Federal Bureau of Control, responsible for investigation of paranatural phenomena. Again, nothing new there. Nothing new there. I mean, if you want to get into paranatural phenomena, we're right back to Resident Evil 2. I mean, that's the whole reason they went in there. I mean, I know Jill went to find her brother Chris, but the whole reason Stars is there is to find out what happened in Raccoon City. And only to find out that there's a lot of paranatural phenomena going on. So, again, Control, not all that original. Haven't played it, so I can't say whether it's good or not. And then Death Stranding, I haven't played yet either. But from what I've been told from very, 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 very die-hard From Software, Dark Souls, Bloodborne fans, most of them that I know are even skipping this one because they just don't see the potential. They don't see the fun in the gameplay. I do think it is a fairly original idea. And I think from what I've seen in the trailers, the gameplay looks really, really good. But if some of the diehard From Software guys are passing on it, I think that in itself gives it claws to be one of the least liked of the nominated games. I mean, even the Critics Awards decided to pass on the game this year. So they were possibly nominated for some Titanium Awards and the Game Awards, obviously. But none of that has come out outside of the Game of the Year. But I mean, the Critics Awards didn't nominate it for anything. Who knows? Maybe they didn't send it in for the Critics Awards. But I think if you're trying to, in this day and age, if you're trying to impress anybody, the critics would be who you would want to impress. So by skipping out on the Critics Awards or just not getting nominated for anything, really stands out in this one, because all the other 5 Game of the Year awards were they were definitely nominated for some critics stuff as well. So in that case, I think Death Stranding, as much as I want to play it, don't think it deserves it. So that brings us back to The Outer Worlds being, my opinion, probably the #1 choice out of it. To kind of prove it a little bit more, we'll go back to the previous years. 2018, last year, God of War won over Celeste, Monster Hunter World, Red Dead 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Again, out of that, Monster Hunter World, slightly new, but it's not all that different from like Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, or any of the Dark Souls games. Red Dead 2 is a sequel. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a sequel.
I won't pretend that isn't
you know, I don't know what Celeste is, and then God of War ended up winning. God of War, again, is a sequel. It's the 4th one of the installment. Granted, it is my favorite of the 4 of them, but again, if we're worried about Game of the Year being original, they've decided to throw that out the beans. So to speak. And so originality doesn't seem to be anything under consideration with the Game of the Year awards. If we go back to 2017, you've got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was a winner, obviously, in that year. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a no-brainer. But you also have PUBG nominated, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Super Mario Odyssey. Again, outside of public, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which can't win, in my opinion, because it is so reliant on your connection to the internet. The console or computer that you are playing on, it's not the game that necessarily makes you better or worse. It literally could be your equipment and connection to the game server that decides whether you're Dr. Disrespect good or me good. Persona 5. Horizon Zero Dawn, I believe, was actually a sequel as well. And then Super Mario Odyssey, again, another in the long line of cherished Super Mario games. We'll go back to 2016. Overwatch was the winner. The Inside, Titanfall 2, Uncharted 4, Thief's End, and Doom. Again, Doom, Uncharted 4, Titanfall 2, all remakes and sequels. I'm not sure what Inside is. Overwatch, no business winning, because again, you are reliant on a connection to this game server that could be or could not be worth getting. So I don't think Overwatch should have won. 3 of the other 4 are sequels or remakes. So again, tossing out the originality to the window. And then back in 2015, when they first started doing this, you got Super Mario Maker, Bloodborne, Fallout 4, The Phantom Pain, and the winner, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, sequel. Super Mario Maker, probably should have won this year. Bloodborne, probably could have won this year. Fallout 4, sequel. Phantom Pain, sequel. So they don't really care when it comes to Game Awards about originality, about uniqueness. They don't really care about any of that kind of stuff. They just like what they like. By seeing who's always getting nominated, it actually kind of looks like they have like a specific 4 or 5 companies that they pick whichever one they think is their best game and throw them up there. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Game of the Year is a total bullshit nomination, all for the idea of getting those who haven't bought into these games yet to go out and buy them. Just like the movie awards are for people who probably wouldn't go see those movies until they win Best Picture, and then they go out and they watch that movie for the first time. So it's all BS. But back to my original point, why I think The Outer Worlds is probably the front runner right now. From 2015, you've got The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the winner. Uncharted 4 was nominated in 2016. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild won in 2017. God of War, and then Assassin's Creed Odyssey was also nominated. God of War won in 2018. 2019 just seems like they have already kind of set a standard that open world, mostly single player games are probably going to be the way to go. Now, I'm not saying that it will win. Again, I haven't played Control. I haven't played Death Stranding. Maybe those guys are really sleepers in disguise that nobody's bothering to take on. But right now, I do see the Outer Worlds probably being the front runner, just because, in my opinion, it's probably the best game I've played this year. The only people that seem to ever have any problem with it is how it's, you know, just kind of like another Fallout game. Fallout 4 was nominated before that. Fallout 3 was nominated before that. I'm sure Fallout New Vegas would have been nominated. Fallout 3, I'm sorry, would have been nominated for sure. So they tend to like those types of games, and they do generally play out very, very well. I'm enjoying it. I think you guys would enjoy it if you played it. It's free right now if you have Xbox Game Pass. You can play it on either PC or Xbox. We're playing it on Xbox right now, just because I didn't have my my PC set up. But right now, I tend to think that that's probably the front runner for those reasons, because the Game of the Year awards obviously don't care about originality, and the other games, they're just kind of more of the same, more than the Outer Worlds. But again, I haven't played Control, haven't played Death Stranding, but Control seems just like a Dishonored game to me, exactly the same as a Dishonored game. And Death Stranding, I mean, even when diehard Dark Souls fans are like, you know what, I think I'm gonna skip this one. You know, there's going to be issues there. So that's going to wrap this one up. That was just kind of my little take on the Outer Worlds. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just have a hard on for this game, and you guys need to point that out. But that's just kind of my 2 cents as to why I think the Outer Worlds is the front runner. But why I think, not why I believe, or why I guarantee, so to speak. I have no idea what they're going to pick for Game of the Year. And I haven't played 2 of the 6 nominees, so I can't really for a definite say that it's definitely better than Death Stranding and Control. But a lot of people are like, I can't believe it was nominated because it's not really that original. So I wanted to quash those thoughts right away, because that is a complete nonsense take. And if that's your excuse for not giving a game of the year, then you obviously aren't intelligent enough to understand how they pick which games, and so your opinion is probably null and void. Not to put too fine a point on it. But I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe some of you guys have played Death Stranding or Control, and you're like, oh my god, this game's awesome. I know it is, exactly like you said, but it's so much fun. And maybe that'll encourage me to check them out, or maybe change my idea on how everything works. But either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me, wishing YouTube that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you get all the notifications. Be sure to head on over to Twitch and hit that follow button and that notification so you get the notifications for the live streams. And then if you're on any of the social medias like Instagram and Twitter, be sure to follow over there at BigSweetC. Yeah, thank you so much for checking it out. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.